What if the cup of coffee you've been drinking every morning for decades is only delivering a fraction of what it is actually capable of? Not because coffee is inadequate, because of what you have not been adding to it. One clove, a spice that costs less than 10 cents and sits in most kitchen cabinets completely unused. Combined with your morning coffee through a specific, simple method, it creates a biological synergy that neither ingredient produces alone. Today, I want to explain exactly what happens inside your body when you combine clove with coffee correctly, and why the method matters as much as the ingredients. If you are over 60 and you experience morning brain fog that takes hours to lift, bloating after meals, joints that ache when you first rise, blood sugar that feels unstable, or fatigue that sleep does not fully resolve, these symptoms share a common biological thread: chronic low-grade inflammation and oxidative stress accumulating quietly in the cells and tissues of the aging body. After 60, the body produces fewer of its own antioxidant compounds. Inflammatory signaling that once resolved quickly becomes more persistent. Insulin receptor sensitivity declines gradually, and the liver, which processes metabolic waste and regulates everything from energy to skin clarity, operates with less reserve than it did at 40. Coffee is one of the richest dietary sources of polyphenols in the Western diet, particularly a compound called chlorogenic acid. Chlorogenic acid is a documented antioxidant that stabilizes blood sugar by slowing glucose absorption in the gut, protects liver cells from oxidative damage, and reduces systemic inflammatory markers. Research has consistently associated regular coffee consumption with lower rates of type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, and neurodegenerative conditions. Clove contains a compound called eugenol, and clove is the most concentrated dietary source of eugenol available. Research has found eugenol to have anti-inflammatory properties comparable in some studies to non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medications, but without the gastric and cardiovascular risks associated with long-term NSAID use. It also has documented antimicrobial and carminative properties, meaning it reduces gas and digestive discomfort. The result is a morning drink whose combined anti-inflammatory, blood sugar stabilizing, and digestive benefit exceeds what either coffee or clove produces alone. Here is what happens inside the body across the first few weeks of consistent daily use, explained through the biological mechanisms rather than exaggerated promises. Within the first hour of drinking correctly prepared clove coffee, eugenol gently relaxes smooth muscle tissue, including the walls of blood vessels. This produces the energy of caffeine without the vascular constriction that causes the anxious, jittery feeling many older adults experience from regular coffee alone. Clarity without the edge. Within the first day, digestive benefit becomes noticeable for most people. Clove's carminative properties reduce gas and bloating directly. Coffee simultaneously stimulates bowel motility. Together, they support more efficient digestive transit and reduce the abdominal discomfort after meals that many adults over 60 experience chronically. Within the first week, inflammatory markers begin responding. This happens systemically and quietly. But if you experience morning joint stiffness, knee aching upon rising, or finger swelling, you may notice these symptoms beginning to reduce in intensity. This is not dramatic healing, it is chronic inflammation retreating in response to consistent daily antioxidant and anti-inflammatory input. Subscribe to this channel right now for honest, research-grounded health conversations designed specifically for adults over 60. One tap ensures you never miss what comes next. Let me tell you about a patient called Bernard. He was 67 years old, a retired contractor who came to see me managing mild type 2 diabetes, persistent morning joint stiffness in both knees, and energy levels that he described as running on empty by mid-afternoon, regardless of how much he had slept. Bernard was already a daily coffee drinker. 2 cups every morning, always with milk and 2 sugars, a habit he had maintained for 40 years. He took his diabetes medication consistently and managed his diet reasonably well, but his inflammatory markers remained stubbornly elevated, and his morning stiffness had been worsening gradually over 18 months.
He agreed to try the decoction method daily for 60 days. He also agreed to eliminate the sugar from his coffee entirely, which was a separate conversation worth having. At his 8-week follow-up, Bernard reported that his morning knee stiffness had reduced noticeably within the first 2 weeks and had continued improving. His mid-afternoon energy crash had become less severe. His fasting blood sugar readings at home had shown a modest but consistent downward trend. His inflammatory markers on his follow-up blood work had improved measurably. He told me something that I want to share with you. He said, "I have been drinking coffee my whole life, thinking it was just a habit. I did not know it could actually be doing something useful if I prepared it correctly." Here is the exact preparation method that produces the full biological benefit. The decoction method takes 5 minutes and produces the strongest effect. Place 3 whole dried cloves, not ground powder, in a small pot with approximately 10 ounces of water. Bring to a boil, then reduce heat and simmer gently for exactly 5 minutes. Do not exceed this time. Eugenol is heat sensitive and begins degrading with prolonged boiling. Strain out the cloves and use this clove-infused water to brew your coffee through whatever method you normally use. Drink it slowly on an empty stomach as the first thing that enters your body in the morning. If 5 minutes is not realistic on busy mornings, the quick method delivers approximately 60 to 70% of the full effect. Crush 1 whole clove using a mortar or the flat side of a knife. Drop it into your brewed black coffee. Allow it to sit for 3 minutes before drinking. 3 mistakes that eliminate most of the benefit. Dropping a whole uncrushed clove into brewed coffee produces almost no eugenol extraction because clove is an extremely dense spice requiring heat or crushing for meaningful release. Boiling cloves for longer than 7 minutes degrades the eugenol before it reaches your cup. And adding milk, cream, or sugar after preparation significantly reduces polyphenol bioavailability. Casein in dairy binds to chlorogenic acid and blocks its absorption. Sugar drives the insulin spike that the chlorogenic acid was working to moderate. If drinking it completely black is difficult, a small amount of coconut oil or a pinch of cinnamon preserves the benefit without the interference of dairy or sugar. One important caution. If you take blood thinners, including warfarin or high-dose aspirin, discuss this with your physician before beginning. Eugenol has mild anticoagulant properties that can add to these medications' effects. If you manage active gastritis, gastric ulcers, or severe acid reflux, coffee itself may not be appropriate, regardless of what you add to it. Consult your physician first. For everyone else, this is one of the safest, most accessible, and least expensive daily habits available to support the specific inflammatory and metabolic challenges that aging introduces after 60. The cup of coffee you have been drinking every morning for decades has been carrying a fraction of its potential benefit. Not because you were doing anything dramatically wrong, but because one simple addition and one corrected preparation method were never explained to you. 1 clove, 5 minutes, the same coffee you already drink. Prepared correctly, consumed consistently, it becomes a genuine daily act of support for your joints, your blood sugar, your digestion, your liver, and your morning energy. Tell me in the comments whether you already drink coffee daily and whether you have ever added any spice to it. And tell me which symptom you are most hoping this helps with first. I read every comment. Share this video with someone over 60 who drinks coffee every morning and deserves to know that a 10-cent spice could meaningfully change what that cup does for their body. That share costs you nothing and may give them something genuinely useful. Subscribe for more honest, research-grounded conversations about practical daily habits that support healthy aging after 60. Everything shared in this video is general medical and nutritional information based on published research and clinical experience. It is not personal medical advice. Please consult your physician before making changes to your morning routine.